Oh God, ooh, that one hurt. I gotta admit, I feel cool on this thing, man. This is a really cool frame, the fat wheels on this thing, it's really, really awesome. This is the Macfox X7, and it is proof that you don't need to have a super fast bike in order to have a really cool bike. Now, the Macfox X7 has a 500 watt, 750 watt peak, hub motor in the rear, and a 48 volt battery in the middle, and it has a top speed limited to 25 miles an hour. And the X7 actually has a few different variations. The one that I have today is kind of like the base model one. They have one that has dual batteries as well, and they also have the X7L, which is a little bit bigger. This one, you can see it has a notch in the frame so that it can accommodate a shorter standover height so that you can be a shorter rider and fit on this thing better. They're marketing this bike towards kids a lot, so that's why it has a little bit of a shorter standover height. Now, one of my favorite features of this bike is actually this rear tire. You might see that it's a little bit wider than usual. It's actually a 20 by 5 inch tire, so you get a whole extra inch wider than your normal 20 by 4 inch fat tire e-bike. And the front is wider as well. It's not as wide as the rear. It has a 4.5 inch wide tire. It's just gonna be a little bit better than your average cheap 20 by 4 inch Chaoyang fat tire. So in the back here, you can see this is a single speed, just one sprocket here in the back. The rear seat they give you here is also really nice, and it's actually pretty long, so you can accommodate another rider on this thing. It does come with some really, really nice built-in foot pegs that are some of the nicest pegs that I've seen on an e-bike. You can stand on these things and they'll support your weight. So $1,600 is not cheap. You can get a lot of different bikes for that, but this one just does the little details so well, like the headlight, the wider tires, the color matched paint on here. It's just really, really awesome. Speaking of paint, they do come with 3 colors on this. I opted for this kind of desert cream color. They also have a blue color and a black color. The back has this nice grab handle here so that you can pick up the bike and move it around, or even tow your friend if they run out of juice. You can see it says Macfox here on the back. And then on the tail light here, you can see it is a brake light, and it comes on when you have your headlight on, but no turn signals on this bike. You'll notice one thing that's missing here in the rear is rear suspension. This is a hard tail bike, which for $1,600, kind of a bummer, and the ride quality will suffer a little bit. But you can also see they give us these expansions back here. I don't know if they actually sell a rack for this thing, but it is nice that it is expandable. And here's our Macfox branded hydraulic brakes. They are adjustable like DY Island. Here's that really cool headlight with the high beam and low beam feature. I think I've seen this on Super 73 bikes lately. And they give us this really basic screen here. You can see it is backlit, and it gives you a few options for information on here, and then this is our controls for our headlight. But you'll notice that this is a really basic setup on here. There's no gear shifter or anything, and they do give you a thumb throttle over there on the right hand side. There's a closer look at our really nice Macfox grips. They're nice and rubberized, and they just feel really, really good. Just again, a step above the quality of a lot of other e-bike brands. And there also is a little bit of expandability there on the top of the frame too. And this is how I look standing on the X7. This is a really nice frame size. Again, I'm 5'9" and 150 pounds. I got a 31 inch inseam, and I can easily flat foot this thing. It's gonna be great for kids and smaller riders for sure. And I just love e-bikes with a small frame like this. It just feels super tossable. And I see kids on Instagram doing wheelies and stuff on this thing. It should be a good little stunt bike if you're into that kind of thing too. These pegs, like I was talking about earlier, are really good quality. You can stand on these things. I can put my full weight on them, and they don't feel like they're gonna break like on some other e-bikes. And overall, I just feel cool on this thing. Like with the fat tires, you got a really cool frame on here, the color matched handlebars. And even though it is only limited to 25 miles an hour, you know, it's still got plenty of power to pop that front wheel up and do some wheelies and stuff like that. And like I was saying earlier, this bike is sort of marketed more towards kids and parents buying this thing. So adults can definitely ride this thing. I mean, you saw I fit on this thing perfectly fine, but it is a bit of an expensive bike too for kids. So if your parents are buying this for you, you're very lucky, because this isn't a cheap bike by any means. One thing I will say too for the price is this doesn't come with any fenders in the front or the rear, and I think it looks way cooler without them, but it would be nice to have that option to either put them on or just not have them on in the first place. But overall, this X7 seems really cool so far. I've heard a lot about Macfox. I see their ads all the time on social media, so I'm glad that I finally got to check out a Macfox bike. But what do you say we get this thing out on the road, give it a good road test, even take it a little bit off-road, and see how this thing is in the real world, and if it's worth your money to buy. All right, guys, so out here on the X7, and just my first impressions going up that hill right here, I'm pegging it, and it's at 18 miles an hour, so Really not the best uphill acceleration just off the bat, but you know, it's feeling good. These tires are really wide, and you can definitely tell they're not your average e-bike tire. When they're rolling around, they feel just a little bit better than your average e-bike tire does. Actually, a little bit bumpy, you know, like it's a pretty hard tire. I'm actually surprised they have these on here. It's got to be a pain in the butt to change these tires out if you got a flat or something. So we're maxing out here at about 24, 25 miles an hour. And then this is just a long uphill straight right here. And you can definitely tell this isn't the highest powered bike. Like, we're kind of just hovering around here at 18, 19 miles an hour going uphill, but you know, it's carrying us up this hill just fine. You know, this is where this bike definitely feels at home out here on the pavement and everything. I don't think that this is going to be the greatest off-road bike because it just doesn't have any rear suspension. It's not the most powerful, and I don't really think this is what this is made for. I think this is for cruising around in the suburbs like this. So the riding position is actually a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. I'm comfortable on this thing, I'll just say that, but it feels kind of like one of those newer 16-inch e-bikes with the 16-inch wheels, and it just feels a little bit smaller. It'd be great for kids or for shorter riders, but definitely keep that in mind if you're a bigger rider, or even if you're buying this for a bigger kid or something like that. I have a 31-inch inseam here, and it's very awkward for me to pedal this thing. My knees are almost hitting my chest here, so really not much of a pedal bike for me. And let's be fair, a bike of this style, you're probably not going to be pedaling it much anyways. You're probably not planning on pedaling it much, so I won't knock it for that, for kind of being a little bit weird to pedal. We just went over a big bump there and I could feel it. All right, so this is not what this bike is made for at all, but I'm going to go through this construction site here because it's a shortcut to this path that I take. And really, this is not what this thing's made for. This is a very, very rough surface. Oh. Yeah, we're shaking this thing down. This is definitely a shakedown right here. Oh. Yeah, but look, oh. We'll go up here. Bottomed out a little bit there on the pedal. But I mean, wow, you know, that handled it a little bit better than I thought it would. Yeah, so look, this thing isn't a dirt bike, obviously. But you know, off-roading, if you wanted to go on a little bit of light grass and you kind of stand up, you should be good to go. It's really not a super rough ride. I've got my motorcycle helmet on, so I can't really hear completely, but it sounds like the tires are actually pretty loud on this, which is to be expected. This is a pretty aggressive street tread on this thing. And when we're topping out at 25 miles an hour, I can tell it has more in it. I know for a fact this thing could go at least 28 miles an hour, but it is limited just by software, because I don't really know why they limited it at 25. I don't know why it's 25 versus 28. I mean, it's just an extra 3 miles an hour. You could still argue that it's a legal e-bike and everything too if you had it go 28 on throttle only, but you know, 25, I don't know why it's limited at that necessarily, but it is good if you are a parent and you're worried about a kid going fast. The brakes on the Macfox X7 look a lot like DY Island brakes to me. I have a feeling that they are DY Island just with the Macfox branding on here, but we'll just give it a stop from top speed of about 24, 25 miles an hour here. We got a bit of a headwind, so it's having trouble getting up to 25. I'll just stop it from 23 right here. Yeah, they definitely feel like the typical DY Island brakes where you really have to squeeze them and put a lot of input in order to come to a complete stop like that. I do have to brake them in just a little bit more, but you know, they feel really good for especially this bike. Say these tires can go up to about 35 PSI. I think I aired them up. Ooh, big bump. I aired them out to about 20 or 32, I think, like around 30, 32. Since there is no rear suspension on this, I wanted to have a little bit of cushion with that rear tire, but you know, honestly, the ride feels fine on the street. We'll take it a little bit off-roading here, just a little bit, because I'm gonna get thrown around on here. Yeah, this is the usual off-road trail that I take these bikes on to test them out, and you know, the slower you go too, that helps, but who wants to go slow? You know, you want to go fast, that's the point. There is probably the controller or something rattling around a little bit in there. Oh God, ooh, that one hurt. Yeah, this is a very hardtail bike, so just be careful if you want to take this thing off-road, because it is pretty stiff. So I'm going to take the phone off of here. I don't want to block your guys' view too much with my big iPhone here, but I'm going to take that off. The GPS is matching up with the screen, so accurate speedometer. You can trust the speed and you can trust the odometer on the bike, which is important. So my verdict on the off-road capabilities of the X7 is that this is not an off-road bike. but you can go on some nice light grass. And going uphill like this, it just doesn't have a ton of power. You know, I do believe that this is like a 750 watt motor. Macfox is a pretty big company. I don't think they can really get away with lying and putting a really big motor in here because they get sued and blah, blah, blah. So I do trust them that this is a 750 watt motor, but it still feels really good, especially when we're just cruising like this on the trail or on the street or something. Feels really solid, literally too, since there is no rear suspension. Oh, not even going down that bump without rear suspension, man. Forget that. And turn in front of that Nissan, try not to get smashed. But yeah, out here on the mean streets of the suburbs, you know, this is where this thing is gonna live most of the time, in the neighborhood, you know, going to your friend's house, doing stuff like that. You know, this bike, like I said, is marketed towards kids. And I gotta say that this thing is just so sick. Like, if you're a teenager and you have this thing, it is just such a sick bike. Like, this would be, if I was a teenager and I had this, or like middle school or whatever, like a young kid, and I had this thing to get around town, I don't know if I even would have wanted to get my driver's license in time, man, because this thing is just so much fun and it's genuinely cool. Like, there's not a lot of compromise that you're making with this. Obviously, you can't really ride it in the winter or anything, but you know, if you just need transportation, especially like during the warmer months and everything, this is awesome. You know, and if you want to give your kids a little bit of independence and not have to drive them around to their friend's house all the time, you know, an e-bike like this one is can be a really good solution to that. But out here on the street, it handles really well, feels great, especially it's not a hardtail doesn't have any rear suspension, so there's not much slop or anything. It just feels really tight, feels really good. Brakes are getting embedded in a little bit more, so the brakes are feeling nice and solid and pretty grabby. Again, no turn signals on this bike, which I don't really care about. I don't really ride on the street that much in traffic, but if you're in the city, maybe that's more of a concern to you. I mean, look, you're on an e-bike anyways, nobody's gonna see you to begin with. The thing is, this bike looks so cool, but it kind of doesn't live up to its looks as far as like performance and speed goes. The acceleration's average for a hub motor bike. Top speed is a little bit less than most hub motor bikes of this class, honestly. And again, that's more of a safety feature, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like, if I had a kid and I was putting them on an e-bike, I wouldn't want them to be going like 30 miles an hour. I'd want them to work their way up, and this would be a really good like first introduction to getting them on two wheels and everything. On the road, I don't even notice that this doesn't have rear suspension. This bike rides really, really well. This frame is just nice. You can tell it's well sorted out. I really haven't seen this frame anywhere else besides maybe Super 73. And that's another thing, this bike is expensive. It's a $1,600 bike. Any discount codes I can get for you guys are gonna be in the link in the description. But this is a pretty pricey bike. But comparing it to like a Super 73, it's actually not so bad. Like, it's probably half the price of a Super 73 with this frame and similar specs and everything. So this is definitely like a more premium bike, even though you're not getting like the highest top speed or anything. This is definitely like a little bit more of a premium bike than most. I review a lot of the cheap Chinese entry-level e-bikes on this channel, but this one definitely feels well sorted out. It's from a big brand. Macfox is really well known. They're a big company and everything. So you know too that if you need warranty help or repairs or anything, that Macfox is going to be pretty attentive, because they're a big company and they have a reputation on the line. So that's a nice thing about buying these more expensive bikes from these bigger companies, is that you might not get the best value up front as far as actual raw performance and top speed and everything goes, but over the life of the bike, as things wear out or break, you're gonna have an easier time finding parts, you're gonna have an easier time reaching customer service and all that. So that's why I can vouch for buying from a bigger company. Battery just dipped down 1 bar. It's kind of sagging in between full and 1 bar down. Let's see what the voltage is. 49.5. So this battery meter is a little bit optimistic. 47 is like a little bit below half on a 48 volt battery actually. So the 13 amp hour battery should get you, you know, between at least 15 to 20, 23 miles. Actually, this thing is limited to 25 miles an hour, so you're gonna get a better range on this thing. I totally forgot that. On an unlimited bike, you know, going 30 plus miles an hour, you're not gonna get as good as range on this as you would with something like this where it's limited to 25. So that's one nice thing kind of about having a limited top speed bike like this. My phone is falling out of my pocket here. Let me put that back. Sorry guys, I gotta put my phone back here. It's like flying out of my pocket. I lost my phone at the golf course a couple months ago, so I don't want to lose another one. I don't think my insurance would cover me again. One downside of having such big wheels and tires on this is you're gonna add more rolling resistance. Your acceleration is not gonna be as fast. There's more weight, so your range isn't gonna be as good. This is kind of a heavy little bike for how small it is. Oh God, man. When you hit a big bump, you feel it. The seat feels okay on here. I like the way that it's shaped. It's definitely not just an off-the-shelf bike seat like a lot of e-bikes are. This is one that I'm pretty sure Macfox makes for their bikes. But it feels pretty good. It is a little bit firm in the back there, and I just kind of feel a little bit cramped on this frame in general, since it is made for a smaller rider and people who are a little bit shorter and kids and everything. If this was my daily, I'd probably want something a little bit bigger. But you know, if you're an average sized kid, sorry, there's a bump. If you're an average sized kid, you know, you'll probably fit on this thing just fine. Now that I notice it too, the acceleration's very smooth on this. It's not jumpy. Like on some bikes, as soon as you touch the throttle, it kind of jerks you around. But on this, it feels really smooth and soft. I don't know if it's got a different controller on here, like a higher quality controller. The nice thing about this bike is the ability to take a passenger on the back too. Those foot pegs are really, really good, and you can definitely fit somebody on there just fine. I could scoot up and fit somebody on the back just fine, and I'm an adult. So if you're a kid and you got small friends, you will be, or even if you're an adult taking your kid for a ride on this thing, you could definitely do it. If I have to nitpick this bike, I will say that this screen is a little bit like plain for what this is, especially at the price point. Like if this was a $700, $800 bike, even like $1,000 bike, I get it, but this is a $1,600 bike. I wish that it had a color display. I wish that it had just a nicer display overall. Does it really make a difference in the performance of this bike? No, but when you're paying this much for these specs and this type of bike, you want something that's a little bit more refined. And this feels really, really refined. It's just a couple little things like the screen and the fact that it doesn't have rear suspension on there. You know, just little things like that. That's my only gripe with this bike. All right, so just finished up our ride here on the X7. We went about 13 miles, just a little bit under half battery left over. So pretty good range out of this thing, which is what you'd expect for something that's limited at 25 miles an hour. You know, it's gonna be, if you're going slower on an electric bike, you're gonna get more range. That's just how things work. So really good range out of this. You could definitely get another probably 10 miles out of this thing before it's completely dead. So some of the things that I like about this bike, the biggest one is just the overall how this thing looks. It just looks like a really cool bike. It's got the awesome, really fat tires on here, the 4.5 and the 5-inch in the rear, the nice paint job here, just the little details that they incorporate on this bike is really awesome to see. The seat was decently comfortable, but I would like to see some rear suspension on this. That comfort, if you hit a big bump, man, it was not good. It was actually kind of uncomfortable at some points on some rougher road. The brakes were pretty good. You got some big heavy wheels and tires on here to stop, so they stood up pretty good. The front one was a little bit squeaky, but I can just sand that down and it'll be all good to go. You know, for the price, you're not getting a ton of power out of this too. If you're looking for just raw specs, you can get a way more powerful bike for way less than this, but you're kind of missing the point if you are thinking like that. This thing definitely looks a lot faster than it is, but I think that overall it's a really good bike. But just some little things like the screen on here, the lack of the rear suspension, they could have given you a bigger battery for $1,600 to like a 15 amp hour battery for a little bit more range. But they do have the dual battery version also, so that is an option as well. But overall, guys, I really like the X7. I can totally recommend this bike if you're in the market for like a more premium moped style e-bike like this. So if you do want to pick this thing up, you can go check it out at the link in the description. I'll give you any discount codes that I can get you. I'll get you the absolute best price that I can. That being said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.